Session for the morning is over, but before lunch we have a very interesting panel. And by the way, I want to thank all the startups and also Startup Centrum, one of the leading startup ecosystem players in Turkey, for organizing these four startups. Them, Startup Centrum, and all the other startups booths are also downstairs. So at the lunch break, you can go visit them. And now we have our second panel before lunchtime. Our panel is named Best Practices for E-Payment Ecosystems. This topic will focus on discussing the best practices for creating and managing an efficient e-payment ecosystem. And to moderate this valuable panel, we have a really important name in the industry, and I would like to invite Mr. Mutaz Abujeb, Chief Operating Officer at the Islamic Finance Advisory and Assurance Services, IFAS. A big round of applause for Dr. Abujeb. Nice to meet you, sir. And this panel, we have a lot of valued experts. And our first one, Bassem Garsali, Vice President and Country Manager for Northwest Africa at MasterCard. Secondly, Mrs. Isabella Morris, Vice President, Global Channel Sales and Tech Partnership Payments, Banking and Fintechs at CR2. Nice to have you at our panel. Please take a seat over here. Mrs. Sarita Arora, Senior Digital Finance Specialist at IFC. Nice to have you at our panel. You can take a seat over there. We've especially arranged these with Dr. Abujeb, who's sitting where. And fourthly, Yusuf Barada, Marketing Director at S2M. Nice to have you, Mr. Barada. Please take a seat. Seyit Tuzcuoğlu, CTO at Colendi. And finally, Dr. Muhammad Al-Jikavi, expert in Islamic finance, manager of Financial Institutions Group and Africa Advisory Services. Dr. Muhammad Al-Jikavi is not here at the moment. The team will try and find Dr. Al-Jikavi, but we can start our panel, and when he arrives, we'll also guide him to the panel. So the panel is in your capable hands.
Bismillah. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Mr. MC, and let me start by also thanking the organizer for having such a prestigious event and having this panel. I think in almost Mission Impossible 6, right, with 6 panelists, and we have only 40 minutes, I think. So let's try to do it. Today we will be talking about a payment ecosystem, and I believe it's also part of the discussion is to talk about the whole fintech space. Okay, here we go. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Muhammad. Okay, so let's start by just setting the scene. Payment today, I think you all agree with me that there was a huge growth in the payment space during COVID-19. There was a huge acceleration of the growth, and so many e-payment solutions came to the picture, became also some kind of mainstream kind of mode of payment. And this growth continued after COVID-19, so there was no stop. Even the latest reports talking about even higher growth rates on the e-payment space. So I think what is interesting today is to discuss about the e-payment ecosystem, not just the solutions. Because what is happening in my humble view is not only increase in the number of solutions, but also in the number of stakeholders and type of stakeholders involved in this e-payment ecosystem. So we have banks, tech companies, fintech, and a lot of players in this space. And also what happened, I think it's also this growth in the payment space affected the businesses themselves. So payments are not anymore a secondary concern of companies, right? It's become part and parcel of the core business. So companies, whether they are e-commerce or otherwise, they are talking and looking into the payment as a revenue driver. A platform with more efficient payment solution will drive more customers. So here we can see also the influence on the payment, the influence of the development in the payment space affecting other spaces, other fintech startups and banks. And we can also see that, changes in terms of, vertical growth and horizontal growth of the stakeholders, acquiring different kind of solutions. So today we will be talking about all of this, about the future of it, and I would like to focus a bit on the challenges, because here, when we talk about challenges, we can explore more and see how we can move to the future, how we can visualize basically the future. So let me start by, a question for each panelist. I don't know if we will have the time to have more questions later, but let's try to keep the answers within 3 to 5 minutes, please, so we can, try to engage also the audience and have some questions from the audience. So thank you very much again, dear speakers. I am not going to reintroduce you because it has been introduced by the MC and we have limited time. And let me start with you, Mr. Bassam, and talking about the challenges. I think among the challenges that we have in the fintech ecosystem or even payment ecosystem is in the interoperability and the customer experience, financial inclusions. So let's start by talking about this, and then we move into the collaborations maybe. So what is your take on this?
Sure. Please. Thank you so much, Mu'taz, for bringing this topic of financial inclusion and interoperability within this panel. I think these are two critical, pillars of developing any successful payment ecosystem. Because actually, I think we all agree that, the digital economy must work for everyone, everywhere. We can no longer allow to get people, left out of any economic engine or digital ecosystem that you are building, because actually it's like we are moving, with a half-empty fuel tank. It's not sustainable. It's not gonna work. And I think actually what we are trying to achieve is, to build an inclusive growth and to build, ecosystems that will allow everyone, to thrive and, to be connected to kind of, priceless opportunities. Actually, I think now, more than ever before, actually we have the opportunity to address there's inequities within the financial systems thanks to the power of technology and digitization. So now actually we can address the needs of SMEs to help them get the tool and the capital they need to grow and to expand. We also can address the needs of underserved people to access some money management tools, and also to allow communities to thrive. Because actually at the end building a more inclusive ecosystem will allow us to create a commercially viable and sustainable social growth. Because at the end, actually, if we are moving with like 1 billion of the worldwide population outside of the formal digital economy, it's not going to work. It's not going to scale, and it's not sustainable. So actually, what we need to build all of that is more than just technology. Actually, in order for us, the only way, what I think is that the only way for us to build an inclusive growth is to create an open and connected ecosystem, interoperable ecosystem, where everyone can have easy access to better life. And actually, this is, I think, where the power of partnerships comes in to allow us to build kind of more connected ecosystem by partner with government, by fintechs. When I say government, actually we partner with governments first as an infrastructure enabler, but also government as a policymaker and regulator. And if I spend a few seconds, let's say, on the fintech space, because actually what we see is that the fintech space is now expanding, and the development in the fintech space now is moving at an unprecedented speed. And the fintechs actually have the power and the potential to drive digital inclusion and financial inclusion. And I think also what we do is how we can partner with fintechs, and this is something that we do at MasterCard, is how we can partner with them in order to build some sustainable and viable inclusive ecosystems. Why fintechs are very critical for developing any efficient ecosystem? Because actually they have the potential to build some domestically relevant solutions. So this is why actually we partner with them. At MasterCard, we partner with fintechs by giving them funds, technology, the expertise that they need to grow and to expand. But at the same time, we learn from them. They support us in building some, as I said, some every life or relevant use cases that matters for the local population. And the second thing is, partner with government is critical in that space, and to allow fintech to expand, because actually we need what we call kind of favorable regulatory framework in order for fintechs to expand and to develop their solutions. This is why actually what we see is many regulators across the world are now adopting a kind of collaborative approach to adapt or to implement favorable regulatory framework to allow fintechs to expand and to support more inclusive payment ecosystem in most of the countries. So actually, if we have the power of or kind of favorable regulatory framework coupled with the power of partnerships, so then actually the sky is the limit for the fintech to expand. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Great. So, so the way how you see it, the challenge is not really on the technology, but it's how we can bring the different stakeholders together. And I think you highlighted very much the importance of the fintech players. And I think I would agree with you, but I'm not sure if the bankers here will agree with you as well or not. So that's building on that. I think I could move to Isabella, because you are working with bankers mostly, right? So you are a solution provider for the bankers. So I think you have the expertise dealing with the bankers. How banks see this? How they look to the fintech and as a competitors or collaborators?
That's a very diplomatic question that should be answered, I guess, very diplomatically. I think, yes, so I work, CR2 works with schemes, works with banks, works with fintechs. And I think if you asked this question a year ago, banks and fintechs, friends or foes, people feel very uncomfortable. I think now we know we work together. We have to work together in order to cater for the customer of tomorrow. I see four key players. Here's customers. So we build solutions for the customers. We have regulators, we have banks, we have fintechs. For banks, it's still very difficult to work with the fintechs. You know, I live in Dubai, and it's a bit like trying to drive a Ferrari in the desert. You have legacy tech in a lot of the banks. No bank is going to go and overhaul all their technology. So how are we going to partner with the fintechs who, you know, have API-first approach, digital-first approach with legacy systems? This is still a challenge, and this would take time. But I think we understand that banks also understand that they can't build everything themselves. Banks have the customers, and they have the regulatory know-how. Fintechs need that. Fintechs need the bank's customers and regulations in order to grow their products. So I see this as a co-creation journey. This is not a digitization. I don't like to call that, but this is an evolution. This is evolving products to cater for the customer of tomorrow together. You know, I'll give you an example. It was my 7-year-old birthday a few weeks ago, and his granny came, and she was, Elias, here's 20 euros for you to buy a new game. And he plays games online. He has these new skins. And he said, oh, no, your money, not good for me. I don't want the 20 euros. This is the customer of tomorrow. So this is what we'll have to think. And it's a way to go. Regulation needs to change. Regulators, you know, we see Revolut, we see N26, we see ADN, they're getting banking licenses, but regulation for banks is still very tight. So we'll have to together work on the infrastructure to support that. And we're talking about Africa. Yeah, it's all great, but if you go, we've provided many solutions in Ethiopia, in Tanzania, in Nigeria, with a lot of, you know, people they have to travel 1.5, 2 hours to get a cash from ATM. If you don't have USSD, if you don't have agency banking, if you don't have eKYC that will work offline, how are you going to bring these people into the digital world, and how are you going to, ensure financial inclusion? So this is technology.
I see. So great, again, but let's try to go to the practice of it. How you think banks can do it? So is there any specific recommendation how fintech should talk to the banks? Is it about having the technology ready for the banks to connect with, or how could work?
Well, I'll give you an example. Apple, people say, are they a bank, are they not a bank? I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But what they've been doing, they've been consistently embedding fintechs on the back end. They're building the infrastructure. And what they've been doing instead, Apple, is focusing on the customer. This is what banks should do. Focus on the customer, make informed decisions with the backup of rich data. We spoke about that. And get the fintechs to then fit in through open APIs to provide that service on an omni-channel level. Because one channel is just not good enough. I can't be adding a payee, I pay my friend or my colleague on my internet banking, and then I go on my mobile app and it's like, oh, where is he gone? Or if I want to do a KYC, why do I have to do a KYC as a new customer, open an account on my mobile? What else can I do on other channels? What happens in Ethiopia or in Tanzania with agricultural workers as well? So I think it's important banks focus on the front end and pushing the regulators together with the schemes. This will not happen without the schemes. And getting the fintechs with the power of the data they have from their customer base to build solutions for the customer for tomorrow.
Yeah, great.
Instead of building themselves.
Yeah. So basically, we need the regulator push, and that's one thing. And I think another takeaway from what you said also, being customer-centric, right? Being closer to the customer, understanding the needs of the consumers. That's a very important aspect of it. And talking about that, I think I can move to Sarita. You are coming from IFC, but also you are coming from India, rich country with a payment solutions, right? And I think you may share with us some of examples maybe on this customer-centric solutions, especially when we are talking about financial inclusion, and what could be the innovations to serve countries where there are challenges in maybe they don't have enough internet solution, they may not have smartphones even. So what could be the solution in that case? Because while we are pushing to a more e-payment solutions, we might contribute to financial exclusion, right, rather than financial inclusion, right? So how we can have this balance?
Yes, thank you. I think it really fits into the Indian demographics. To just give you some background about our demographics, 65% of our population is rural. Only 50% internet penetration is there. We are 1.4 billion people, and we do 9 billion transactions every month, which is around 3,500 transactions every second. Okay, and all of this has been a growth and a success story for countries across the world who want to look at how India as a country was successful in doing so. And with definitely taking care of financial inclusion. So I'll give you some specific examples. One is that there was a huge government push in terms of having a national digital strategy. This was culminated into a lot of regulatory frameworks. Then there was an introduction of a payment enabler called UPI, which is called Unified Payments Interface. And any of the payments apps, be it Google Pay, Bharat Pay, Axis Pay, Amazon Pay, could actually create their own payment apps and the infrastructure on the basis of this payment enabler, which is absolutely free of cost in India. The Indian NPCI is National Payments Corporation of India, which is a regulatory body which manages the payments infrastructure. They have an openware, a free tech stack, which includes each and every API available for all the fintechs and all the banks in India to be used and put it into their digital wallet system, their online banking systems, KYC systems, etc. Now, with respect to financial inclusion, as I said, the internet penetration is like 50%. There are around 400 million feature phone users, around 600 million smartphone users. So the people who don't have smartphones, they also don't have internet. So what many of these payment apps, they came up with solutions of one, voice automated payments. This is also because the literacy rate in India is around 77%. So a vegetable vendor who is selling vegetables on the roadside, this lady, she's illiterate. She doesn't know, if a virtual payment is done, is it really being done? She's totally uncomfortable about it. So the moment I pay to her in in my day-to-day life in India, she immediately gets a sound message, X amount has been transferred to your bank account. So that is what, the day-to-day life of an Indian person is from morning till night. People don't carry wallets, they only carry their phones because everything is digitized. If you are a foreigner who is entering India, right at the airport, you actually get, you pay your dollars and your cash is loaded onto an app. And then buying coconut water from roadside to paying at a mall, it's all done with your phone and a QR code. Now, in terms of financial and social inclusion, couple of more examples are the villages wherein there is no internet. Many of these mobile apps founders, they came up with the missed call processes or processes of IVR, interactive voice recording, so that a transaction can be done even without internet connectivity. India in 2017 was at around 90% cash transactions. As we speak now, it is around 60% cash, and remaining is all digital already. I'm just thinking of more examples of financial inclusion apart from, yes, and then the government also came up with some wonderful schemes for inclusion of the rural people. One of these schemes is called Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Pradhan Mantri is Prime Minister, Jan is people, Dhan is money, and Ayojana is scheme. So it's scheme for the people of India, launched by the Prime Minister of India. So that's called Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. And in that, anybody and everybody who doesn't have a bank account was given the privilege of opening a bank account with a national security number. That person would have zero balance savings account, would be given the pension benefits, the insurance benefits, and also the national security level enabled payments as well. There were subsidies issued during COVID times. There were subsidies issued for farmers through these Jan Dhan Yojanas, and that also led to I would say, a huge uproar in the digitization in the country. Last but not the least is, moving out of India. I mean, we at IFC, we are, I myself have worked in many, many geographies, Central Asia, Southeast Asia, Oceania, Middle East, Africa. And, it feels sad to see that there is no equality of data distribution as well as the technology distribution. It really hurts. Because, I was working on a project in Oceania, and if you go to Samoa and Tonga, the islands, people have to literally sometimes walk 10 miles to just get a phone connection. So I guess, coming from a development finance organization, we do work with various countries at policy level with the regulator, as well as from an advisory level in framing their digital strategies of MNOs and financial institutions, and of course investing in them for the long-term growth and stability. But I do believe that a lot of knowledge transfer should happen among countries and governments for equal distribution of opportunities. Thank you.
Great insight. You covered a lot in a few minutes. That's great. I think what you have shared give a great example on how we can overcome some of these challenges, right, on the financial inclusion part. Though there will be challenges, because the way how I see it, that in the example you mentioned in India, so basically the government took this initiative of building up some kind of payment ecosystem enabler, right? And there will be huge cost. I mean, not all governments can afford this. So this is where I believe like IFC and other development institutions will be needed basically to provide such support to those countries. But getting back to the examples also you mentioned a lot of very insightful examples. I really like this missed call setup, it's innovative and, solving a problem. And I think this is where we often, I think, we misinterpret the word of innovation. When we mention innovation, people, they will think about, like, sophisticated technologies. Definitely that could work, and I think I will go to Mr. Yusuf to highlight some of these innovations. But innovation could be also about understanding the people need and coming up with a solution, basically. Could be with a very, very simple technology, but it's about the right setup, and it's about having the partnership as mentioned by Mr. Bassam and the other panelists. So again, building on that and moving to Mr. Yusuf, would you please share other examples dealing with the fintech space and with all players? I believe that we are not restricted anymore to our phones. We were just discussing about this a few minutes ago, right? And I think you shared the great examples on IoT and other kind of innovations. Would you please share with our audience more about this?
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Mr. So when it comes to innovation, I would just to mention that innovation is not necessarily a technological revolution or something like this. It might be a simple idea that can be embedded to a process to enhance it and make it better, and that can fit with the customer need. This is innovation for me. So yes, we can speak about technology hour and hour, and what can technology brings to customers in terms of innovations. And we can have a super example, and we can speak about IoT, Internet of Things, and how can we use technology to enhance payment experience in today's worlds. So Internet of Things are none than smart devices connected to each other, connected to the internet, that can allow the customers to have a different experience, not necessarily a better experience, but a different experience. And we will speak about innovation and enhancing customer experience, because for me, customer experience is in the center of the reflection. You cannot speak about innovation without speaking about the need of the customer. Who drive today? Is the customer experience drive innovation, or the innovation drive the customer experience? The question is very complex and difficult because it depends to the market. It depends to many factors, the persons, the governments, regulation. Yes, it's a tricky question, but if you want, we can speak about this wow effect of innovation and technology. The use of IoT today is pushing forward the use of payment. Today we can speak about connected car, for example. So in last month, I think, Mercedes has launched his first connected car. With this connected car, you can do payment with a seamless way, without using anything, without putting your finger in the screen. So you can use it for parking, for a station, for gasoline and stuff like this. So IoT Internet of Things are pushing forward payments, and we can have a lot of examples. Also, we can speak about smart cities. We can speak about smart houses. You can find a smart fridge in your house that can seek your product and see if there is a lack of product and make an order for you. In this way, you can be delivered in your home without doing anything. So yes, technology is pushing forward payment, but what I want to mention is when you are in some specific market, we are in Africa, for an example, and we try to use the best way to give the best customer experience using the means that you have. You mentioned it before, I think Bassam, or you have mentioned it when you speak about USSD. USSD is not a revolutionary technology, but it's a basic thing that we have to use to fit with the customer need in the market, because there is a customer need, but we don't need specific technology to respond to this need. So yes, again, technology is something that we have, and this is something what we need to use to enhance payment. But it depends to the country, it depends to the market, and who drive this payment experience in the country. When you speak about bank versus fintech, this is the perfect answer for this. If you took bank for an example, banks are driven by the technology and not by the customer experience. They try to bring customers to the technology, to the innovation. They found some innovation somewhere in the world and they say, yes, this is the perfect innovation that I can bring to my customer. I don't think that this is the right decision. So they try to bring customers to the innovation. They will take the latest trend of payment and solution and try to sell it to the customer thinking that this is the perfect solution for the customer. Maybe this is not the case. But fintechs do the opposite because they put the customer in the center of reflection. They see, yes, I am a customer. What do I need? How can I give the best way to pay, for an example, or to use payment solution to fit with my needs? So this is the difference between banks and fintechs. Fintechs brings innovations and technology to the customer for a perfect world of payments.
Great. Isabella, you would like to comment on this?
I really liked your comment, Yusuf,
you.
in your response. I 100% agree with you. And I think we're talking a lot about beyond banking now. So banks make money from lending and insure deposits. So banks, let's say I have to go on a holiday and I want to travel. Bank will loan me money for my travel ticket, for my hotel, for example. But what happens after that? Well, as a customer, my bank can give me a portal, booking portal, to book there. So they keep me in my ecosystem. Why would I have to leave the bank ecosystem, go to a different ecosystem? They can manage the customer journey beyond just the banking product. And I think this is what the customer is doing and why embedded finance is taking, big popularity.
Yeah, for sure, it's taking more place. Yeah, for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, payment ecosystem, cannot work in isolation, right? It's part of a larger ecosystem. So we are talking about the whole fintech or digital ecosystem, sort of. And I'm glad that you mentioned also embedded finance, because talking about this, I think we can move also to our panelist, Mr. Sayed, who is coming from embedded fintech services provider. And I think one of the probably the largest funded fintech startup, right, in Turkey. Mr. Sayed, would you please share also, maybe you can explain briefly about what is embedded fintech services and to our audience, and then maybe we can talk about, how we build partnership around that, how the ecosystem is, the whole stakeholders in this ecosystem are connected together.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. First of all, while developing the embedded fintech apps, first you need a best partner to provide your solution to end customer. For example, we have the biggest partners in Turkey, for example, in retailers and the telco companies. First of all, you have to understand what customer needs to consume our embedded product. For example, in one application, a customer needs an investment application, or another application, a customer needs an BNPL product, or another payment experience they want to have. So first of all, we gather some data about what user needs, about what kind of products they want to consume. And after that, we analyze and process the data gathered from them. And after that, we are going to develop an embedded app. What is embedded application means? We develop the API and the end product for another business, and another business can easily embed it to their application. For example, you don't have to need a banking license, or you don't have to have an investment license to make an investment in your application. We can provide our licenses and our experiences to use them. For example, in some customers in Turkey, we provide the investment applications, but the customer's baseline is coming from the telco company. So converting the telco company while embedding any application into them to a fintech customer, or they can easily pay their invoices for this telco operation in a single app easily. And in another side, we provide the BNPL and the e-wallet solutions for them. Again, they don't have to develop any advanced features or anything else. Only we are going to collaborate with them, and after that we are providing what customer needs and what they want to use in any application or any store. For example, briefly, we can transform any company to being a fintech company by embedding our services and products to their applications, and we provide an easy access to their customers to access any financial application or financial services.
Okay, great. So talking about this, kind of enabler and partnership kind of connections, I know you are coming from engineering background. Yeah. So would you please share with us what is your take regarding the challenges on the securitization and the security, cybersecurity concern? Because when we are talking about connecting all these stuff, fintech and the banks and all the players sort of into one ecosystem, there are always concerns regarding data privacy and cybersecurity. So what is your take on this?
Okay, good question, thank you. First of all, we don't read or transfer any customer information about our services or another thing. We train and machine learning models, and we run them to our in our customers' data centers, and by training, and we need some time to gather better results from our models. For example, you don't have to share your data with me. I have a model trained for you, and I'm going to run in your data center or in platform. And after that, training the data, we will only get a result. For example, how can they invest, or how can they use BNPL, or what's the maximum or minimum limits for this customer? We only get this data, and beyond that, don't need to transfer or read any customer-specific special data in our site.
So basically what you are trying to say, there are tech solutions for this. So, but what about convincing the players about this? Because the way how I see it is always difficult, right? When we are discussing about connecting two fintechs or even a fintech with a bank, this question will rise up. So do you have any view on this?
Yeah. For example, any customer or any bank doesn't need to have a relationship between them. So they can only use a single app to interact, and they doesn't want to know about the situation. But the customer needs may different from what banks or other service providers provide to us. And we have to create a unique solution for each of them to have a better experience and better solution to use them. But technically, for example, we use more than 30 providers, and the customer needs only one thing, and maybe we can get it from one provider or another, or multiple ones. And sometimes the first one may fail, and the customer needs to have a unique and the best experience to consume, and they don't want to see any error or any failure on the application. So we dynamically manage and providing the best experience to them.
Thank you very much. I see that you picked up your mic. You have some comments on this.
No, I was actually I was thinking about this discussion about fintechs and banks. Actually, I think we are not saying that fintechs will eat on the lunch of banks, or banks will always be competing with fintechs. Sometimes they will compete, but in most of the cases they will partner with each other, because I think, there is a report saying that by 2030, the current or traditional banks actually will no longer exist under their current status if they don't innovate. So 80% of the banks, traditional banks, maybe will disappear in like 7 years time. But actually, most of those banks as well, they understood that they need to innovate and to partner with these fintechs to bring, innovation to address some needs. I think at MasterCard, we have understood this very quickly. Historically, MasterCard, we work with banks and financial institutions because we were owned by banks at, 6 years back. But then actually, in the last 10 years, we diversified our business. We work now with fintechs, with the telcos, and we created this type of ecosystems, and this type of synergies between financial institutions and fintechs through some of our programs like, MasterCard Accelerate, where we bring some fintechs, and help them, access to our API so that they can develop some solution and bring them to banks. Our program Start Path, same thing actually. We take some startups who are well developed and in late stage of their development, and we support them in their development. But at the end, we present them to banks so that they can support them on building some relevant use case. Because actually, banks will need this type of agility in bringing some use cases to the market. But also many of these banks, they are building like kind of neo or digital banks in fintech mode. So they're creating this type of their own fintechs at the end, so that they can move quickly and support the development of financial services through more agility and bring more use cases into the market.
Great, thank you. I agree with you that definitely there is a transformation going on, right? And I think that applies to every and each institution and firm. I think all type of businesses are transforming, sort of, right? No business will stay as it is for long, I believe, because the technology is evolving, affecting the whole. It's not about only the means, but also affecting our lifestyle and our needs. And if the needs are changing, I think, again, the products and services should be changed, right? So we are talking about a change, I think, in every and each aspect that applies to financial and non-financial institutions. So definitely banks will not stay as they are, as similar to the fintech. And I believe also some of the payment solutions exist today, will be obsolete in a few years. I was in Seamless conference and other conference, we were looking into the solutions, and a lot of them just focusing on card issuing, and that will be obsolete. I think we are not anymore restricted to devices, right? Even the examples you shared, Yusuf, that confirmed this, that it's not about even the devices themselves. We can use payment through any terminal, so why to focus on this? So maybe I will come back to you with a challenging question on MasterCard. Why we don't have a wallet instead of all these cards of MasterCard? Why
They
not
have
MasterCard
fintechs.
cannot come with something, a digital wallet on this?
They have fintechs for it.
Yeah.
I can answer
What
that
is
later.
stopping you?
Look, I give an example of Egypt. Egypt, one of the most successful, examples of partnerships and getting together, the government, the central bank, the regulator, fintechs, telcos, and we build, one of the first interoperable mobile ecosystems in the world globally. And in that market, we have something like 15 million wallets active on that mobile ecosystem. It's wallet. And most of the use cases are, about generating a virtual card, to do some e-commerce, to do like bill payment. And it's not about plastic, it's wallet. And actually, it's driving the financial inclusion in the market. And it's putting all together what we are now discussing, about partnership, about bringing fintechs, banks, telcos, regulators all together. And it's about wallet. It's not even, about plastic cards. Yeah.
So e-wallet providers with us should be afraid now of MasterCard coming back. I'm just joking.
If I can add to this is, this conversation is banks shouldn't worry, fintech shouldn't worry, because open banking is solving these challenges for us.
Agree.
right? This has been solved because of the fintechs and because now banks have the customer. The issue we have right now, and this will evolve, is customer trust
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
their data. This is
Yeah.
what we need to work on, I think.
Yeah.
But in terms of sharing data, this is happening between
Yeah.
banks and fintechs and telcos.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think unfortunately we don't have much time to go into this. But I agree with you that open banking is and open finance concept at large. Basically, open finance is opening the door for another set of development, and especially if it's enforced by the regulator. So then that will change. That will change the whole game. But let me, with the remaining time, come to you, Sheikh Mohammed and Dr. Mohammed. We talked about innovation in so many aspects, and maybe one part of the innovation is also regarding the Sharia compliant solution, especially in countries where there is a conversion, and you coming from Libya, I think we're basically now moving into Islamic finance system. So what are the challenges on the payment side regarding, how you see, is there any challenges regarding e-payments being Sharia compliant in this aspect? And we'll move to you. I think there will be a translation if you would like to use your headphone. Dr. Mohammed will speak in Arabic. I will try anyway to translate briefly his reply as well. تفضل السؤال عن الابتكار والتوافق مع الشريعة.
شكرا. بسم الله. طبعا أشكر الجميع. الحقيقة إضافات عظيمة جدا، وتحديث الوسائل، وسائل الدفع هو كل يوم يتجدد، وهو بحر لا ساحل له. لكن ذكروا جميعا أن المصارف يجب أن تتجدد، وأيضا الشركات يجب أن تتجدد، بل حتى النقد تجدد. اليوم هيكلية النقد تغير مما هو معروف إلى نقد مشفر رقمي، فتغيرت حتى وسائل النقد. طبعا بالنسبة للنظام الإسلامي وتعامله مع وسائل الدفع الحديثة، طبعا نحن نعلم جميعا أن الإسلام لم يعارض لا إنشاء مصارف ولا بورصات ولا إنشاء شركات تأمين ولا وسائل دفع حديثة، إنما الإسلام نظم العلاقة بين طرفي المعادلة. بمعنى اليوم نحن في ليبيا ممكن التحول إلى الصيرفة الإسلامية ابتدأ من 2009 إلى اليوم، إلى سنة 2013 أصبح نظام إسلاميا بالكامل. نحن لم تظهر الحاجة إلى الدفع الإلكتروني أو إلى البطاقات أو إلى المحافظ إلا في وقت متأخر جدا، لما مرت بالبلاد بعض الظروف المعينة من أحداث معينة. احتجنا كما قال الأستاذ يوسف البشمهندس تكلم على قال من يطور الأدوات، هل هو الزبون؟ نعم، أم نحن من نطور؟ أحيانا قد يكون الزبون هو من يطلب، وقد تكون الجهة هي من تبتكر، وقد يكون كلا الأمرين هي من أحيانا الحاجة هي التي تلجئك إلى مثل ذلك، فظهر الدفع الإلكتروني. مثالا نحن أول الخطى في ليبيا في البطاقة الائتمانية كريدت كارد ظهرت في ليبيا، وكانت من أول الشركات اللي يعني أصدرت هذه البطاقة عن طريق المصارف هي شركة تداول مثال، ووضعت الخطى الأولى في بطاقة ائتمانية لا تتعارض مع أحكام الشريعة. فالإسلام في قضية التطور لم يقف مكتوفا أمام ذلك، وإنما نظم العلاقة وحقق العدالة بين الطرفين في مسألة العمولات مثال، في مسألة أخذ الرسوم على الإصدار أو على الحوالات أو على الدفع، ومنين تؤخذ العمولة، هل تؤخذ من قابل البطاقة أم تؤخذ من مصدر البطاقة أم تؤخذ من حامل البطاقة. فالإسلام هنا نظمها. أكبر الصعوبات التي تواجه فينا مثال في البلدان الإسلامية هي عدم المعرفة الدقيقة بالإجراءات لهذه البطاقات الائتمانية أو الكريدت كارد. من فقه فقه العلاقة وعلم العلاقة بين المصدر وبين حامل البطاقة، بين حامل البطاقة وبين قابل البطاقة، وفهم العلاقات، استطاع أن ينظم واستطاع تحقيق الغاية التي من أجلها أنشئ هذا النظام. مثالا هذه البطاقة صدرت في ليبيا. عندنا بطاقة تعتبر هو حدث لم يعرف في بلدان العالم، إن بطاقة إلكترونية بالوحدات الطبية يستطيع حامل البطاقة أن يشتري هذه البطاقة بالتقسيط، وهذه البطاقة مشحونة مسبقا، مدفوعة مسبقا، لا تمثل أحيانا نقدا، إنما تمثل وحدات، وهذه الوحدات تمثل وحدات طبية. هذه البطاقة تأسست على عقود قانونية شرعية، تأسست أيضا على BRD، دليل إجراء عملي لا يتعارض مع الضوابط القانونية الموجودة في ليبيا، ولا يتعارض مع الأمور الشرعية. التحدي كان الكبير جدا في إقناع المصارف التي كانت ردحا من الزمن تشتغل بنظام التقليدي، كيف ستقنعه اليوم أن يغير أسلوب التسويق. أنا دائما أتكلم في نقطة في ليبيا غير موجودة أحيانا في الدول الأخرى. نحن عندنا في الإيرادات، إيرادات المصارف أو قائمة الدخل، ما يسمى بالقائمة الدخل، عندنا اليوم خلال هذه السنوات الماضية وخلال هذه السنة وأظن السنوات القادمة، الإيرادات في العمولات أكثر من الإيرادات في الاستثمارات والتمويلات، مما يعني إقبال الناس على مثل هذا النوع. الإقبال قد يكون مكرها، يأتيك الزبون مكرها، يعني ليس مخيرا في ذلك، وقد يكون مخيرا. إذن كنظام أو كفرصة استثمارية موجودة، لكن السبيل كيف أن تقنع من يقدم الخدمة بمدى جدية أو مدى فائدة أو عائد مثل هذه الوسائل عليه هو وعليه المجتمع وعلى البلد بكامله. فإذا من حيث الابتكار أو الهندسة المالية الإسلامية لم تتعارض مع هذه الوسائل، إنما نظمت وحاولت تحقيق مبدأ الشفافية ومبدأ العدالة. لأن في الإسلام لو سمحت لي عندنا مفهوم لثلاثة أشياء تختلف من النظام الإسلامي إلى النظام التقليدي. مسألة القرض، لا يمكن احنا في الإسلام أن يستغل من أتى إليك يريد قرضا، يريد سلفة، لا يمكن أن يستغل بأي وضع في الأوضاع أن تتربح وراءه. أجاز لك الإسلام أن تأخذ التكاليف المباشرة من منحه ومن تحصيل هذه المبلغ أو هذا القرض، لكن لم يجيز لك أن تستغل الحاجة لتأخذ من وراء ذلك مربحا. نعم. أما لو كانت العلاقة بينكما ليست علاقة إقراض وإنما علاقة بيع وشراء، فتح الإسلام ولم يجعل لك حدا للربح وليس لك حدا للعمولة أو الرسم، وإنما جعل الاتفاق ما بين طالب هذه الخدمة وبين مؤدي هذه الخدمة. أيضا عندنا مثال القرض وعندنا الضمان. الضمان من أتاك لتضمنه لا يجوز أن يساوم على هذا الضمان. وبعدين المسألة الثانية الشفاعة. فإذا من حيث الابتكار ومن حيث أن الإسلام وقف أمام هذه الوسائل، لا لم يقف، وإنما حاول تصحيح الأوضاع بحيث يقوم هذا النظام على خدمة طالب الخدمة، وأيضا يحقق عائد للمؤسسة الصادرة لهذه الخدمة، ومما لا يؤثر على ناحية البلاد بأكملها.
شكرا لك وشكرا لهذه المعلومات. Let me يعني راح أترجم على عجالة. Let me just briefly translate what has been shared. It's a great, it's a great insights. Basically, you have mentioned that there is no contradiction between being Sharia compliant and being innovative. In fact, Islam is encouraging innovation. And it's about also the way how we need to think about it is about from customer experience and the customer need, right? So it is a customer need, and then we need to satisfy this need. And there is ways to do this. There are methods to do this. And the whole objective of Islamic finance is to bring justice to the picture. So it's about Muslim inclusive, I think, rather than Muslim exclusive, right? So it's about, I think you shared example of some examples of digital cards where basically instead of having it to represent only money, it represents also services, because Islam didn't allow to charge interest over money, but it opens the door to have as much as you would like as a profit, as commissions, fees when it is a commercial transaction. So this is where this example has been brought to the picture of digital card for healthcare, where there are services units and it can be used and exchanged. So it's another just example of innovation being Sharia compliant. And I think great insight, thank you very much. And unfortunately, I'm receiving a lot of remarks here and there, but alhamdulillah, I think we succeeded, sort of, exceeded a bit on the time, but with just a couple of minutes. So forgive me for this. And I think it was a Mission Impossible 6 completed. So back to you, Mr. MC. And thank you very much, panelists. Thank you for all and for the audience and for the organizer. Thank you very much. Back to you.